Morning, everybody. I can't believe it's a new week already. Hope you all had an awesome weekend. Today, I'm actually going to be talking to Chelsea about her major digestive issues that she's been having. I'm just going to wait for her to hop in, but then I'm going to add her. And she literally said on her Facebook post yesterday, I wish I could give up on food and get a feeding tube, because she's at the point right now where she's so frustrated that she actually just wants to have any kind of solid food that she can eat on a regular basis. It's not totally causing her massive pain. And I really wanted to address that because that's kind of my wheelhouse. I've totally been there before, and you almost get to a point where you're hopeless and you're desperate about it. And I'm just trying to let her come in here. But basically you feel like there's nothing you can eat anymore. Hey, I see you're here. Let me see if I can add you. My viewers. I can't see you for some reason. Chels. Sorry guys, this will just take 1 second. Here you are. Invite. Hopefully. Okay, are we back? She should be able to jump in here any second. Let me know, Chels, if you see that invite. Okay, so basically she's at the point now where her gut health has tipped over to a point where her guts are so angry that she can't even tolerate normal food, like at all. So yesterday she's like, I think today I'm just going to eat grapes and strawberries and tomatoes and I think mushrooms and a couple other things. I can't remember what else you mentioned. But it's like, if you're at the point where you're reacting to every single thing that you put into your stomach, it means that your gut lining, like literally the intestines, have holes in them everywhere, and things that are not supposed to be getting out are getting out into your body. Therefore, your body is reacting to anything and everything that you're putting into it. So a lot of the time when we think about health, we think about weight, right? So if you're not a healthy weight, like if you're overweight, you think you're not healthy. And so the problem with looking at health when it only comes to weight is that we forget all the other things that we're putting into our bodies. You're on your computer, you need headphones. Oh yeah, well, do you want to hop on your phone and try it? I'm just gonna keep going with this until you can hop in. But basically the problem is that we're so hyper-focused on being skinny, really. I mean, if you think about how many times have we actually listened to Cosmo magazine when we were 14 years old, and that was like our Bible, right? So when it comes to health and we think about weight all the time, then we get into this horrible habit of only counting calories and only counting macros and only watching sugars and stuff like that. And what happens is we slowly but surely have all these different factors that destroy our gut health. And this isn't just a matter of adding more probiotics. It's like a tiny piece of it at this point. So Chelsea is literally at the point where her body is rejecting pretty much all food. And so she's been to her doctor. There we go. I see you now. You requested. She's at the point now where her body's like rejecting all food. And that's, number one, super painful and super frustrating. Bring you on camera. There we go. Hey, can you see me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Have you been able to hear me the whole time?
Yeah, I have. I just thought for some reason that I would need my headphones on for a duel. Used to be that way.
Yeah, also I think it depends if you're coming in on your phone or your computer. I don't know, they change the rules like every week or something. So
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what I'm trying to get at is just the fact that I think this is like a general statement, but in general, I think women are taught to look at whether they're healthy, even men too, but we're so hyper focused on whether we're skinny or not, like whether we're overweight or not, that we completely miss out on so many pieces of health. And so if you're always counting calories, like I know so many girls that are still obsessed with like the skinny lattes, which have the artificial sweeteners in it. Or did you know skim milk is actually way more fattening for you because it's pure sugar than normal milk? Like you're supposed to have the fat because it signals your brain that you're full, but we go to skim milk because we think it's skim and healthy. Like it's just amazing how many fads we've had that have gone really wrong for us as women. Okay, so I wrote down some notes because I know that yesterday you were just like, okay, I just want a feeding tube. Like I'm done with food. So what did you end up eating yesterday?
Yesterday I had oatmeal and that sat fine. And I had strawberries and grapes and like raw mushrooms and raw tomatoes. But like I didn't feel great after the all the raw stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So number one, when your gut's as bad as yours is right now, I know what it feels like because I've been there, and it is awful. And every single thing you eat, you're like playing roulette with it. You're just like, oh my God, is this going to kill me? Like, what's going to happen? And so, but intuitively think, like we always think like, oh, well, I'll just eat some fresh fruits and vegetables and it'll be fine. But what happens is that the food is just a certain way when it's raw and fresh like that. And if your gut is that angry, then it becomes a food that's not healthy for you because it's literally causing you all those issues. And so you kind of have to get back to basics. I know we talked about bone broth yesterday. I'm going to do a video on my page this week. I'll make sure I tag you in it. But I sent you some of my old ones from before, but they're so long. I want to condense them. And I was super pregnant. So I was like, but basically what we got to do when your gut gets to that point is calm it down and get back to super simple basics. So like bone broth is almost like a superfood for the gut lining inside, and it has so much nutrients that are absorbable easily by the body, but there's nothing really in it that your body can fight with. So it's super soothing, right? That's why when we're sick, we tend to eat soups and stuff. It's not supposed to be the Campbell's canned soup. That stuff's so bad for you. It's supposed to be true bone broths. Okay. That's why people lived for centuries on those big soup pots that were hanging over a fire that were constantly just churning out bone broth all the time. It's because it was so good for you because there's so much nutrients in there. But yeah, like for stuff like this, we have to put things in that are going to allow that massive inflammation to start to slowly heal and calm down. Because basically what's happening, I don't know how much you read yesterday after I told you about the leaky gut stuff. Did you get into it at all? Yeah, you went down that rabbit hole. So for anybody who watches this who's not familiar with like basically leaky gut syndrome, it's something that naturopaths have been talking about for decades, but it's something that the normal medical community in Western medicine is now just catching up on. And a lot of them are still kind of in denial that that could be a problem, but a lot of them are now saying, yeah, of course, this makes total sense. And what happens is you're basically like a big long tube from your mouth out to the back end chute, right? And it goes through all these different places and stuff to get through that. But what happens with a leaky gut is over time, you have little things. I always like to talk about it like the barbecue brush analogy. I don't know if you remember that when we were in the clean eating reset, but you have the inside of your intestines are like really, really soft skin, kind of like the inside of your wrist here, like inside of your forearm. And so if you take like a barbecue brush, picture those like steel bristles, and you scrape it, the first time it happens, it might go a little bit red and probably get turned back to white within like 20 minutes or half an hour or something. So it's not a big deal. But if you take a barbecue brush and you scrape it and scrape it and scrape it over and over and over, eventually it doesn't have time to recover and heal itself. And then it becomes an open wound that you're continuing to scrape and scrape and scrape. And eventually you could imagine how things from the outside world could get into your body that way. So the same thing is in reverse is happening from the inside of your body. So we're eating inflammatory foods, we're taking anti-inflammatory painkillers, we're taking antibiotics, we're taking birth control pills, we have candida yeast issues that are overgrowth that eventually like morph into a new shape and then can penetrate through the wall of the lining of your gut. We have food intolerances that are also causing like the inside of our gut. It just like eventually wears down inflammatory foods. Same thing. It's like gluten, dairy, soy. There's a bunch of them that we eat on a regular basis that are super cheap to add to food. So almost all of our diet is now comprised of those. And what they do is they're like the barbecue brush. They continuously go in there and scrape the crap out of the inside of your gut lining. And so eventually when you're eating foods, it goes through your stomach and gets partially broken down so that your intestines can grab it, keep breaking it down with all the healthy bacteria that's supposed to be in there and digestive enzymes and stuff like that. And then it's supposed to kind of continuously pull the nutrients out through your intestinal wall. But what happens is we have all those scrapes. And so the immune system sends in like the repair bands, let's call them, and they come through. So all along your intestines, there's what's called tight junctions. And so they're all super tight like this. But then as soon as the immune system's called to go repair inflammation and like a micro tear in your gut, they open up a little bit to allow them to come in, the little workers, to go and fix whatever's wrong. And then they go back out, right? But if you're having constant inflammation all the time, those junctions never close. So undigested food particles are leaking out into your bloodstream, where your immune system's now attacking them because they're foreign and they're not supposed to be there, plus toxins and things that would never normally be able to get past that junction. They're now literally going into your bloodstream. And so slowly but surely, there's like little signs and symptoms that start to show up for us. and we ignore them and we wait them out, and then they kind of seemingly go away. But realistically, it's like your body screams at you for years until one day it tips over. So for you, it was probably like the massive antibiotics right after your surgery, right?
Yeah.
Which is super necessary because you don't want your body to get a major infection. You had your appendix out.
Yeah.
So that makes total sense why you should do that. But it's like, we tip over at a certain point. A lot of people will have like a major injury, like a knee injury or surgery or something like that, and they'll take a ton of anti-inflammatory medication after, and that burns holes through your gut lining, and same thing happens. So some of the signs and symptoms that people kind of overlook are skin issues. Like if you have skin, like weird dry patches or eczema, or you have psoriasis, or you have that?
I'm so dry. I'm just like all the bags, like I have like bags under my eyes like crazy. And I wouldn't say like psoriasis or eczema though, but yeah, like my face is always dry.
What about like, do you ever get little like chicken skin? Like, you know how it kind of looks like the little stuff on the back of your arm that's like weird?
No,
some people get that.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because it's annoying. Yeah. But there's like all these weird random different little signs, like black eyes for like my son Rat. Remember I told you that earlier? Like for him, if he has dairy, the next day he wakes up and it's black under his eyes, like hands down every single time. So you can't tell me that his body is an effect. Like the normal pediatrician's like, no, that's not true. You're making that up. I'm like, I'm not making it up. Like I promise it happens every time. So skin issues for everybody has to understand that leaky gut shows up differently for each person in terms of like the signs and symptoms and stuff like that. But major causes of it, which we were talking about yesterday, are antibiotic use, C-section babies, which I was, and then I had chronic ear infections when I was a kid, and you said you did too.
Yes.
So a lot of the theory around that is that it's actually a dairy intolerance or allergy that manifests into these infections all the time as kids. Oh, but you would never think of that. Yeah, of course you're feeding your kid bottles of milk all the time. Like my mom would have never thought of that. No. So your antibiotic use constantly, plus you're drinking milk that clearly is not good for you. But we didn't know that at the time. This is just looking back. It just makes sense to us now. So C-section baby, chronic infections, like especially ear infections. So a lot of antibiotic use. And then for me, it morphed into throat stuff when I was probably like 8 or so until my early teens. So strep throat, tonsillitis, multiple times a year. You had that too?
I had strep lots. Yeah.
So it was like, they always just thought like, oh, you're just the kind of person that catches strep easily. Yeah. And it's like, well, I guess, like, is that a theory? Like, so, but then antibiotic use, right? And then you get a little bit older. And for me, it morphed once I hit probably like 16 or so. It morphed for me into like, I still had strep going on, but I also started to get chronic bladder infections.
Oh, okay. So I hadn't had those, but.
Well, that's good because they suck.
Yeah. Oh, they do. I know I've had a couple, but
the worst. Like, so I got to the point where I would have a bladder infection every single time I had sex. Oh. And the doctor's way to fix that for me was to take an antibiotic pill every time I had sex. So if you think about how many times over a 10 or 15-year period that you end up taking a random macrobid, like that's not good for you either, and it just compounds the problem. Yeah, so in the meantime, I'm killing good gut bacteria that's trying to help cover the lining of my gut. And so this is another thing that just kept scraping at the insides of my stomach all the time. So yes, it's good to take probiotics, but the problem with leaky gut is that there's no one-stop quick fix to it. And that's the hardest part, is because it's a healing journey. You know what I mean? Like, you had a massive blow of antibiotics, which was super necessary in December. And now your body has literally said, like, we cannot do this anymore. We have no more defense system left in your intestines. We're screwed, right? And then the answer is, well, I think you have IBS. And it's like, yes, but I didn't catch IBS. I developed it. And it's through leaky gut. Yeah. So that sucks, but it is what it is, right? And it's almost like freeing to just know that it exists and that you're not just making it up in your head. Because for me, I felt like a crazy person for years because the doctors kept telling me there was nothing wrong with me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and my appendix was such a weird thing to have happen. Like, I was feeling like crap for like 2 weeks before that. And then I cut out meat and I was eating like mostly plant-based stuff. And then I was starting to feel better, but like I still couldn't, like, nothing would stay in me. Like, it would just run right through, but I would feel better. Like, my guts weren't like inflamed or like bloated, like, but it still would just kind of go right through me. So then when I had my appendix happen, like I wasn't, I still don't even know if that really was necessary to come out because I didn't have all the symptoms. Um, and when they said, like, they showed or they talked about the CT and they said that it was like mildly inflamed. So I don't know whether they have to take it out when it's just a mild inflammation, but they did.
So you had a lot, I didn't know that. You had a lot of inflammatory issues before that, but then they basically were just looking for some kind of an explanation.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. Well, listen, I mean, I don't want to throw doctors under the bus because I think that they have to do what they have to do with the knowledge that they have. Like, I don't disagree with that stuff, but I think that as like women, we have to advocate for our own health and start to really pay attention to what's going on, what kind of signs and symptoms we have showing up, and start being proactive about it, I guess, at the end of the day, instead of reactive, if whenever possible. I mean, there's always exceptions to that rule, especially with surgery and stuff like that. But I mean, it's possible maybe that if you'd had a second opinion from somebody, that maybe it would have been different, but it is what it is now, and we have to fix what's going on with your gut now, right? I think I just lost you. Just come back in if you're, there we go, approve. I don't know if I can get you back. Anyways, it's really hard with inflammatory stuff, especially when it's here. Sorry. There, you're back.
Yeah.
I was just saying it's too bad, like, that you didn't have a second opinion, but at the same time, like, I can't make that, like, neither one of us could make that call, but
Right.
But it sucks that you're always going to wonder now, right? Because you did have all those other things.
I know. And they didn't seem so, like, after I had it, the doctor didn't even, like, it wasn't my regular doctor who did the appendix surgery, like it was through ER. So I didn't even, like, they didn't even call to like book a consult with me after anything. So I was like, well, that's weird. Like, do they just think that appendix, like, do they just get inflamed for no reason? Like,
I thought that they'd only do like an emergency one when it's like it ruptures.
No, mine didn't rupture.
Oh man, that's crazy. Well, I don't know if you heard what I just said after, because I think you hopped off for a minute, but I just said, like, it is what it is. Like, we have to just figure out how to heal you now, right?
Right. Yeah.
No appendix. Let's do this.
Yeah. Down an appendage.
Yeah. I mean, I guess on one hand, it's like, maybe that was truly the issue, and I hope so. But on the other hand, if you already had all those things happening before, then probably you had your body screaming gut health issues at you before, and then, we don't know what we don't know until we know it, right? So for me, I had like really bad seasonal allergy symptoms, but never correlating to a season, and an antihistamine never touched it. So I tried every brand, every type, just to try to figure out, because I always had super, like, I go really like runny nose, really stuffy, really bad stomach aches.
Every single day I have a runny nose, and for like the last year or two, I have no idea why.
Yeah, it's unexplained. And so, like, when you go and research it forever, you basically eventually find unexplained sinus issues. And you're like, that doesn't help me. That is what we're already doing here. But essentially, if I cut out all the right foods that I'm intolerant to, I have zero blockage, zero, like, I always sounded a little bit nasally, like, for years and years and years, even when I did get kind of better, because there were still some triggers that I didn't really know about that were still happening. But for me, my main ones are dairy, eggs, and garlic are huge for me.
Really?
Garlic is one of the worst ones, because it's like instant gut ache for me, which is a superfood according to all the health gurus. But if it's not good for you, if your stomach says it's not. So this is one of the things I wanted to talk about today, is like, when it comes to healing your gut, one of the main things that I love to talk about and teach is, like, you have to learn to listen to your own body, because we're always searching for external validation or external reasons or external whatever. But we have to, like, start to learn to listen to our own bodies, because that's a great example. I can't do garlic, which is considered a superfood for so many people in so many cultures, which is awesome. But if your body doesn't like garlic, then don't eat the garlic. I have so many people that'll say, like, well, I can't really do meat or whatever, but I eat a lot of eggs because I don't really know where else to get the protein. And it's like, but I thought you told me that for years you've been battling with an egg intolerance and it makes your stomach hurt. And it's like, well, I don't know where else to get the protein. And that's a fair comment, because when you try to cut out a bunch of stuff to figure out your food intolerance issues, you stare in your fridge and your pantry, and you feel like there's nothing you can eat, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
And then you're hungry all the time. And then what do? You cave and you go back to whatever you know, right?
Yeah.
Which is usually shit for your stomach.
Yeah.
It's the worst. Hey, Mary, I just saw you hopped in. Mary, actually, that reminds me, you just had surgery in December, taking out your gallbladder. We got to make sure we pump a lot of probiotics through there. We can talk about that when I call you later. I'm supposed to call her today. Yeah, so basically what happens is when it comes to healing the gut, we have to get back to like super simple. So we talked about making bone broth, which is so good because it's so gentle on your insides. Most people do really well on bone broth. We have to remember that what an animal eats, they become just like us, right? What they can absorb and ingest and digest, that they can absorb. And so if they're eating total crap GMO stuff, then they're reacting in their guts just like we would, with a lot of inflammation and a lot of junk that's happening in there. So it is not that bad to go and get organic, grass-fed and finished beef bones. And so if you want to be doing, like, meats are the thing that most of us have to start going organic and grass-fed and finished. Sourcing them from farms that are doing it the right way, as opposed to feedlots who are saying they're feeding organic feed, there's a difference. So we got to start to learn how to get to know local farmers. So, like, for example, in Alberta, there's a couple of really good farms that are doing it so well, and the meat is more expensive. So you have to learn how to, like, use a little more ground beef, because it's not as expensive as the steaks that you buy at Costco for $40 for 3 little steaks. Like, I'm just like, what is happening? Anyway, so you got to learn to use your meats a little differently, and that's fine. But if you're going to pay for the quality bones, at least they're not that expensive, and you can make a ton of bone broth with those good quality bones, which are going to be so beneficial for your gut health. So that's like a good starting place. Like I said, I'll do a video this week so that I can show you how I make my bone broth. You want to simmer it for at least 12 hours, but 24 to 72 ideally. Get the good stuff out of those bones. And the other thing about soup is that we have to add a whole bunch of crap to flavor soups if we haven't done it right and over time. So if you add bay leaves and lots of carrots and things that are going to make that broth really sweet and tasty, then you don't have to add anything with MSG or bouillon at the end, because the flavor is so strong. And then you can add whatever vegetables you want in it later, but you could also just drink it straight. Some people just like to drink it straight. So in terms of like the healing, getting back to basics, we're going to start with like cooked. For you, it's like you have to cook your vegetables, because it is so much easier for your body to digest cooked vegetables, like steamed carrots. Start playing around with different types of foods that your body actually can handle. So you said you had a R-bomb protein shake this morning and your stomach was okay after. So hopefully peas are okay for you, because that's pea protein. So try some steamed peas, because that should be pretty. Like, think about baby food. What did you feed your baby when it was born, when it was just developing its digestive system, right? You do sweet potatoes, you do squash, butternut squash, carrots, those 3. Super simple, like steam them or bake them, whatever you want to do. And then make sure that that's cooked, because raw carrots are going to be harder on your stomach than steamed carrots, of course. We have to relearn foods too. So we're in a world of convenience, and everything's fast food or convenience food. Even the stuff we have at home, half the time we're making homemade, but is it like, we're not controlling the ingredients. So we got to learn how to control the ingredients. So start with super basic stuff. Did you say brown rice is okay for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So start with brown rice as your base, and then add things to it, just simple stuff, and so that we can start to change up the taste and stuff for you, because you're going to get bored of it. But you're probably at the point where you don't really care anyways. You just want something that doesn't hurt, right? Yeah. So that's, I think, where the best place to start. The other thing, again, is like, learn to listen to your body. So if you eat something, it doesn't have to be an instant reaction. You're probably at the point where you're having instant reactions, because what's happening is, even if you're not intolerant to the food, you're reacting to everything that's partially digested, that's leaking out of your gut into your bloodstream. Your immune system is attacking it as it comes through those junctions that are open.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you're not going to react to all these foods for the rest of your life, but you need to allow that healing process to start happening so those junctions can close again, so that you can like absorb the nutrients out of all your food again. So then it will probably still be a couple of culprits that you'll figure out, like dairy, you know, is bad for you personally. Wheat is usually, like gluten is usually really, really inflammatory for everybody. But a lot of people can tolerate it as long as it's in moderation, because the barbecue brush happens. And then if you let it have a little bit of time, it can heal itself and take care of it. And then a little bit again, it's not a big deal, right? So it's not that you can't ever have something again. It's just that you need to find out what your triggers are so we can heal that digestive tract. So learn to listen and then listen to learn. I know it sounds so cheesy, but that's my best advice. And then get around other people who get it. Because there is nothing worse than trying to explain to somebody how garlic hurts your stomach when they're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I love garlic. It's so good for you. And you're like, no, yeah, I know, but I can't eat it. So yeah, it's one of those things. Did you get the digestive enzymes in that package?
Yeah. I haven't been taking them because I'm too afraid.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't know.
scared to take anything, right?
Yeah.
Once we get, so remember yesterday I was like, first we got to start with basic foods to start that process. But the things that I would recommend are getting probiotics into you, omega-3s, because that's going to help seal up those little, like it'll help to try to create a little layer so that those things stop escaping in your tight junctions. Omega-3s will go and help that. They're not going to fix the problem, but they're going to help with that anti-inflammatory to try to help things in the meantime, like create like a little oily barrier, which isn't like impenetrable, obviously, but it'll help. So omega-3s are really important. And if we have that much inflammation happening in our body, another reason for it is that we're so high in omega-6s, which is anything that's stable on shelves. So think any kind of oil that can be in crackers or cookies or chips or anything, any kind of oil that they add to something to preserve it and to hold its shelf life for a long time is going to push your inflammatory pathways. And we need inflammation so that if you have a cut, inflammation comes in and helps heal it so that you don't get a bunch of crap into your body from the outside world. But also we're so high in omega-6s that it's usually like 16 to 21 times the amount that we should be getting in the average person's diet.
Oh my God.
Raylene just said she was diagnosed with severe Crohn's. She gets it if you need somebody to talk to. There you go.
Perfect.
It's like, but if people don't get it, then they don't get it, right? Like, I can't do dairy. Sometimes I do cheese and I do butter because I don't seem to react to that. And if I choose to go eat a piece of cheesecake once in a while, it's not because I'm having a treat or cheating. It's because I fucking feel like it. So then I'll take digestive enzymes because they help so I don't get a stomach ache. But I don't want to be taking those every single time I eat so that I can eat dairy all the time because I'm still not able to process that food properly, right?
Right.
But if you're around people who get that, it's different than trying to explain to, like, I'm going to pick on my mother-in-law. She's not actually bad with this stuff at all. But like, if it's like your mother-in-law, your neighbor, or somebody, and you're just like, dude, I can't explain this because people just think you're making it up because it's, you know, dairy's very good for you. It's like, well, not for me, you know? So get yourself connected with some girlfriends, like Raylene just said, or like online. There's lots of obviously groups and communities. I think I'm going to start talking about this stuff lots more in our group in the Happy Healthy Essentials, just because I'm so passionate about it, because it's so easy for me to talk about, because so many people don't know. Like Crohn's is a great example of something that you may have been born with, but you may have developed because of, like, how many times have we said to ourselves, well, I used to be able to eat anything and now I can't? And it's like, well, because we ate all those things, this is why we're in the predicament we're in. Crohn's might be a little different, but generally speaking, all disease starts in the gut. So we have to start taking better care of ourselves. And it starts with what we get to do for our kids too, right?
Yeah, I know. I feel bad for how I feed my kids.
Well, don't feel bad. Just start where you are and just make one small change at a time. That's it. Don't feel bad.
Okay.
We need to start feeling bad less in our society as women and as moms.
True.
That
I think I agree
is probably going to help with gut health. We're so stressed out and so worried about everything all the time. Don't worry about it. Just, if you want to get to a different place, then just make a small change at a time, because then they won't notice either.
That's true.
Like if you came home and you were like, kids, no more crap, no more candy, no more chocolate or whatever, we're switching to organic. They'd be like, what? You know, but if you just start sneaking one small thing in or out of their stuff, they don't notice.
Yeah, I definitely need to get better at like cooking, like home cooking, because it's just so easy to just grab whatever, you know? Yeah.
So that's a really good point too. Maybe this week I can put something together, a resource for you. I'm like, we think it's hard to cook. I totally agree with you, but it's not actually that much. Like, to make sidekicks is not actually that much different than making rice. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think they've marketed to us so well that they're like, you can have sidekicks in 4 minutes on the stovetop. And you're like, 4 minutes? But like, what's in them?
Exactly.
Nothing healthy. It's not even food.
Yeah.
I get it. I like sidekicks a lot, but like, we used to eat them all the time. And now I buy them sometimes for like a little
Treat.
it's like a treat, right? Because it's not real food. So it's okay to have that stuff sometimes. It just, if it's your diet all day, every day, then eventually you're going to run into problems. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
I just saw Ryan just hopped on here. Ryan Zepp. He just gave me a whole bunch of elk for my birthday, which I loved because wild game is amazing meat. You know what else would be interesting to watch with you as you start to heal your gut? When you eat certain types of meat that is raised a certain way compared to the stuff that's conventionally just mass produced in like feedlots and stuff,
Right.
I have noticed 1,000% difference for me in how I feel, especially with pork. But like, start to just play with that a little bit and notice, like, Costco ground turkey, for example. If I eat that from Costco, I don't care if I went to somebody's house and had one bite of their spaghetti sauce, I instantly, my stomach goes, and I'm like,
Really?
is there ground turkey in here? And everybody thinks ground turkey's healthier, right?
Yeah.
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 Is there ground turkey in this? Yep. Is it from Costco? Yep. I can tell. Like, it's that sensitive for me. I'm just like,
Crazy. Yeah.
that, I don't know what they feed those turkeys, but it is not good for me.
Yeah. Well, it keeps it cheap, I guess, probably.
Yeah, that's the sad part, is that eating well can be super expensive. So you really want to pick where you're headed. I mean, some people don't have to think about it, but some people really do. So you want to pick the places where you're going to start. So I would say meat is more important to go with organic or wild like fish and stuff like that. You want wild caught. That's not like in the farms that are still out in the ocean that are basically the same thing. You want like
Right.
wild caught out in the ocean.
Okay.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different resources you can look up for that kind of stuff, but like, just start to play with it with your body. Like, if you get all your meat for a little bit from a local farm, because I think you guys can source that, right, through the store.
Yeah, like I have no idea, to be honest. We get lots of our stuff through, well, it's through like a bigger company, and then they would source it from like different places in the prairies. So I honestly don't know. All I know is that it's like AAA or AA.
So that doesn't mean anything about the way that it was raised, though.
No.
So that would be a good place to start, though, is just like, find a local farmer. There's lots in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, like, there's tons. And just find one that's like within a few hours drive that delivers to wherever you are. And almost all of them do, especially now that Corona happened.
Yeah.
And just like play with that with your own diet for a little bit and just see, like, if I was to eat ground beef in something, does it hurt my stomach the same way? Or, because I know you got turned off of meat, and that's how my husband was with pork, conventionally raised pork. Ugh, it's gross. But same with me with that turkey. Like, I can eat turkey just fine if it's like normal sliced turkey at Thanksgiving, but I can't with that Costco ground turkey. I don't know why. So listen to your body and just start to pay attention. It's okay if it's not working for you and it does work for somebody else. Like, we're all so different. What hurts my stomach is probably not the same things. We're going to have common things, but they're not all the same. So garlic, if garlic doesn't bother you, fill your boots. Garlic kills me, and raw onions kill me.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like the taste of it, but
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I hope I can do it. I don't know. I haven't, like I said, I don't know what, like, there's going to be so many things that I probably can't do, but I don't know what they are yet.
But don't forget that you probably will be able to reintroduce a lot of them later. It's just that right now it's just angry at anything you're putting in it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I'm going to make that soup video for you this week. And then that's a good place to start, I think, just with some bone broth, just to start. But take those probiotics, take the digestive enzymes, just one every time you eat, just for a little bit, just to see how your stomach does, because it's going to help you break down the food. That's literally what digestive enzymes do. And it's also going to have some prebiotic stuff in there, so it will go and feed any of the bacteria that's in your gut. But sometimes when we put, so for example, when you had like a scoop of the greens, did you have like a war going on in your stomach that day?
Yeah.
So that means that there's a lot of, like, it's a civil war going on in there between the good and bad bugs. And so, especially when you feel like crap after, I still get that too, especially when I'm not used to the greens, because my body is out of whack down there. That's what it's telling you. That there's literally it's like the bad bacteria is like flourishing down there. So it's fighting the good to get that food, because it's prebiotic means the food for the bacteria, the probiotics, which are the bacteria. Okay. And so if you eat a lot of salads in a day or something, this is not for you right now just because your body is so mad. But for us in general, like once you're back onto it, when you start eating a lot of like raw foods and salads and stuff like that, and your guts go all rumbly on you, it's often because you've got like a war going on in your guts, and there's too much prebiotics, which is the food for a lot of fiber and stuff, food for the probiotics that's going in your gut. I'm like rambling on about this whole random subject, but yeah, basically it's telling you that there's a lot of bad bacteria in your guts, and so we need to keep putting probiotics in as well as feeding them with the prebiotics. You know what I mean?
Okay. And prebiotics is basically like fiber, and it comes from foods, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Prebiotics are lots of things, including there's 2 types of fiber, soluble and non-soluble, and one of them actually feeds the bacteria in your gut. So when you read a label like inulin or something like that, that's a good one. Arbonne shakes will have that right in it. That's why some people find that they get really gassy and bloated the first few days of trying them. Same with the doTERRA ones. Did you try the doTERRA ones now that your gut's angry by itself?
No, I haven't. I should.
Try it just to see. For me personally, like I did the Arbonne ones for like 3.5 years or something like that. I still have them in my cupboard, and I still, from the vanilla, not the chocolate, the vanilla one still rumbles my stomach just a little bit. I think it's the vanilla because it is one of my food intolerances. But if you're okay with it, like I honestly believe that whatever you can put into your stomach that doesn't make you hurt, you should stick to. Like, so you can try the doTERRA one too, just because it doesn't have any sugar in it. But but definitely keep going with the probiotics every day. They should be able to go in and help you. And then the digestive enzymes every time you're going to eat something, just to help it break it down. Because you're probably missing a lot of the digestive enzymes. That's another reason why your gut's being so angry. There's like, I'm sorry to say it, but like there's just not one little solution for this. We have to start from basics and then slowly heal and work your way up.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
If you start now, what month are we? March, April, May. You have like 3 or 4 months until it's summertime. So if you start now and take it super seriously with healing your gut, probably by summertime you're going to feel so much better, so that you can actually enjoy your barbecue season and your summer and stuff like that.
Have like burgers again and
Totally. Just watch your ingredients, what you're putting in them, control it as much as possible. Store-bought burgers generally have total shit in them.
Yeah.
You make them yourself. Unless you get them from a butcher, then they make them really well.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Thank you for jumping on.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this for me.
No problem. We're going to work through it one step at a time, and then maybe we'll just keep reporting the progress so that other people, if they're kind of wanting to learn. I'm going to put together a gut health, like a guide to getting started with gut health, because so many of us get to a point where it's almost too far gone. And so if we're able to catch it ahead of time, then it doesn't happen like that. And I know what it's like, so I want it.
So many of the symptoms that, and then if you could have, like, I don't know, I was probably having so many symptoms, but I was just like, no, whatever. And then too late now.
Yeah. Well, we got to just heal that so that you feel better for the summer.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy.
Thanks.
Okay, we will talk soon.
Yeah, thank you.
See you later.